Welcome to this year's briefing on the proposed council budget for 2019-20. I'm Joe Chesterton, Strategic Director for Finance and Resources, and I'm here to provide you with some key facts and figures around the administration's proposed budget for 2019-20, which is due to go to Cabinet initially on the 17th of January. Firstly, I'll just give you some background and context to the overall budget position in setting that budget. As usual, the council has had to deal with the general cuts provided to us by central government, and this year is no exception. The main grant has reduced by a further £4.4 million, which means that our remaining revenue support grant is now around £5.9 million. However, in this year's provisional financial settlement, the government has indeed recognised the national significant cost and demand pressures around both adults and children's spending. They have issued nationally additional funding of around £240 million for adults, and also an additional £410 million for social care support grant for both adults and children's services. This works out effectively as an additional £0.8 million and £1.4 million respectively for our council. The government position on future funding for 2020 onwards and all of the various funding arrangements that go around that, things like the Adult Social Care Precept, Better Care Fund, Improved Better Care Fund, and what happens around business rates retention, will not really be known until the government holds the comprehensive spending review at some point this year. And that's clearly dependent on the timing and the content and the outcome of what happens with Brexit. What is clear though is that we will see further reductions in government funding and a greater reliance for local authorities to be financially self-sustainable. In other words, in the very near future, the income we will have to maintain or improve our services will come from three main sources: business rates, council tax, and any income that we derive ourselves. Things like traded services, council investments, fees and charges, interest on council balances, etc. It will be vital, therefore, that the council moves much more towards a commercial approach to its activities with clear, viable business cases before investment, and that we all need to get to know our business far, far better. Alongside this, we will need to embrace a longer-term budgeting approach of 3 to 5 years, and that we need to be very clear of the income we're receiving over that period to enable us to make the right investment decisions on what the council services we need to maintain and improve. We also now have an aligned and agreed Southend 2050 ambition to work towards, alongside our 5 themes, our associated 23 outcomes and a 5-year roadmap. It will be very important that to deliver these outcomes, we also need to move to an outcome-based budgeting approach. Essentially, this will mean the prioritisation and reallocation of all our resources, both our revenue and capital budgets, staff and physical assets. Work has already commenced on both these areas around longer-term budgeting and outcome-based budgeting, and we will all need to embrace the new challenge in the early part of this financial year as we prepare for our 2021 and future years' budgets. We will also need to develop further our commercial acumen and approach in the organisation to support our move towards financial self-sustainability. So what are the proposals around the 19-20 budget? The key factors are, essentially for the revenue budget, a council tax increase of 4.49%, 2.99% for general use, and an adult social care precept increase of 1.5%. This 4.49% is in line with the same increase for 2018-19. Overall, there is a net revenue budget investment into services of £2.5 million. This is split between ongoing investments of £6.6 million and budget reductions of £4.1 million. The majority of this investment, of the £6.6 million, £5.7 million is into adults and children's services, where we as a council are experiencing very high demand and cost pressures. Within the budget reductions of £4.1 million, we have looked at a cross-cutting themed approach rather than the traditional departmental approach to savings. The themes that have been identified are income, where we've identified commercial and new and additional income of around £0.8 million. A number of transformation projects, particularly in adults and children's, of around £2 million. Staffing restructures of around £0.6 million. And procurement efficiencies, where we're delivering better around some of our contracts of around £0.3 million. So those overall are generating some £3.7 million in budget reduction. In addition, we have looked at much more of the detail of the budgets, the smaller areas, where we're looking at our housekeeping efficiencies and where we've sort of seen some underspend in some of the budgets over a number of years, and these total around £0.4 million. For fees and charges, these have generally been proposed to be increased in line with inflation, except for parking, where parking charges are being proposed to be kept at the same levels for 2018-19. In terms of staffing, there is a net growth in staffing of around 36 posts, and that's mainly reflecting the significant investment into services around children's. There is also one-off key investment into a number of key projects, and that's over a 3-year period of around £3.4 million. Some of these key projects are sort of delivering the local plan of around £1.1 million, making sure we have the right resources for our summer planning of around £0.15 million, starting the project work and delivering the implementation of our housing strategy of around £0.5 million, and also service redesign and transforming together of around £0.8 million. The other aspect of the budget is the capital budget, and the administration's proposals there are for additional capital investment of around £35 million over the next 4 years. And additionally, if viable business cases and external funding is approved, this will add another £36 million to the overall budget, giving a new capital investment programme of around £229 million right up to 2023-24. The overall investment will clearly support all of the outcomes coming out of the residents' perception survey, and which was really the basis for setting the Southend 2050 ambition and outcomes. In respect of the housing revenue account, the rent reduction will be 1%, which is in line with the government's requirement. And also fees and charges are generally in line with inflation or with expected outturn prices. So in terms of the next steps, the proposal I have outlined will now go to Cabinet on the 17th of January and then through to the relevant scrutiny process, but also through the business and voluntary sector consultation, and then finally to Budget Council on the 21st of February 2019. So really the key messages I would like you to take away from today is that we do have a balanced and robust budget for 1920, which is delivering net revenue and capital investment into council services, both financially and through staffing terms. But also that we all need to embrace the challenges ahead of an organisation that needs to work towards longer term and outcome-based budgeting. But we also need to develop the organisation further with a commercial mindset for all the activities we are undertaking and we propose to undertake. Finally, I would like to thank all staff involved in the compilation of the proposed budget. And if you have any comments or queries on the budget, any detailed ones, then do please speak to the Deputy Chief Executives or your relevant directors. And in addition, later on today, all the relevant suite of budget reports will be on the Council's website. Separately, I'm more than happy to be involved in any personal conversations or discussions around the budget and any thoughts you may have for the 2021 budget preparations that lie ahead. Thank you for listening.